Let's try that again. Thank you. Good morning. So let me tell y'all right away. This is not your typical. I know y'all saw the word forum and y'all were thinking, "Oh my God, this is gonna be boring." Like this is not that. So I just want to set the expectation high right away. It's not that type of party. This is y'all first time. Some of you all back in the world. Some of y'all were a little nervous to make it out today. Hey, make some noise if you were nervous. Okay, I see y'all. I see y'all. Don't worry about it. So the first thing I'm gonna need everybody to do is, again, make some noise for yourselves, first and foremost. Make some noise for yourselves. You have made it out. It is a beautiful day, and we are here on behalf of and in support of our young people. So let's make some noise for our young people that we love, that we support. We're gonna get an opportunity very shortly to hear from some amazing young people this morning during one of our panels. So you guys are in for an amazing treat. But first off, let me, because technology, I'm going to use the original clicker. It's called the finger. First off, let me introduce myself. My name is Sadiq Ali, and I'm the proud executive director of Mentor Maryland, DC. I'm so excited. Make some noise, y'all. Make some noise. I'm so excited to be with you all this morning. And one of the first things I want to do is just acknowledge our team, the Mentor Maryland, DC team. They're around. Some of them are out front. Some of them are in the back making some noise. This entire event is supported by them. I want to shout out our production team as well, Marty and Kay from Gumption, because again, none of this is possible without relationships, without a team, without family and community. And that's what this gathering is supposed to represent. And we hope that you all feel that as well. So by way of a little bit of purpose of why we're here today and why we gathered you all and so conspicuously invited you all, is first and foremost, as Mentor Maryland DC, which will give you all a little bit of an intro about in a little bit for those that are not aware. The purpose of this event is first and foremost to just showcase the vibrancy, the amazingness of the mentoring community and the mentoring field here in DC and in the DMV. So again, let's make some noise. Your hand's gonna be hurting after this. And I want you all to take a look around the room. There are, easily 15, 20 different organizations represented in this room that all that all work on this youth development issue, right? This challenge of creating systems and pathways for our young people to thrive. This is just a small portion of that ecosystem. So today is about showcasing the vibrancy and again, just allowing folks and just hopefully you all take advantage of the opportunity to connect. The second thing that we're here to do today is really all of us individually and collectively get in the driver's seat and have a conversation about visioning for the future. As we know, ideas are the raw material for the future. The bottom line is that if any one of us in the room had the right idea or the perfect solution, the rest of us wouldn't be in the room because everything will be fixed, right? So the reality is that we have to also use some new thinking because as they say, the same thinking that led to the challenges ain't gonna be the same thinking to undo them. So we've got to think differently, and we do that through conversations, through joint visioning, through collaboration, et cetera. And that's again what this event, which is hopefully the first of many in DC, is meant to do. Number three, and one of the most important pieces is we want to share back what we heard as the Mentor Maryland DC team. As this past summer recently completed, we conducted 3 different mentoring town halls virtually. And shout out, make some noise for all our virtual folks. I can't see them. We got about 30 or 40 folks that are online joining us as well. They're zooming in from Lord knows where. Hopefully they got some good coffee with them. But we want to shout out them as well. But again, we also want to make sure that we share back what we heard during the course of those town hall meetings and what we uncovered through a survey that we sent out to lots of programs as well. And then the last thing about today in terms of purpose is really all about youth voice. Unfortunately, and I will take this right on the chin as the leader, we don't have enough young people here in this room right now. I know it's a school day, but these are the sorts of, as we were recruiting our young people for the panel today, these are the sorts of service learning opportunities that we need our young people to participate more in. When a room full of adults are here talking about young people, there needs to be an equal amount of young people in the room. So a small portion of today, again, admittedly too small, is going to be all about hearing from our young people. We have an amazing group of young people serving as panelists today that we couldn't be more excited to hear from later on. So again, make some noise for our young people. Make some noise, not for real, make some noise. Two other things, and then I'm gonna pass it to two of our really, really esteemed, and I'm just so excited to hear from these two individuals. Last or second to last, I want to just take a moment to always bring the creator and the ancestors into our spaces. This is because we know, I don't care who you are, what your background is, et cetera, you are standing on the shoulders of somebody that came before you. And when we talk about mentoring, we talk about this idea of relationships, right? Relationships are cyclical. Relationships are multi-directional, bilateral, not unilateral, me as old, wise adult, et cetera, right? But that's the same way that the creator, I don't know what everybody believes, but I believe that we were all created with intention by design, and that nothing is happening in our lives happenstance or by coincidence. So I always just want to make sure that we acknowledge the creator and our ancestors for gathering us, even though we're in masks. Again, I also want to make sure that we acknowledge all of our loved ones, right, that we might have lost. We're still in the midst, hence we're in this room with masks. But we always got to make sure that we acknowledge those who we've lost during this global pandemic, those that are continuing victims of racism, oppression, homophobia, transphobia, all the other isms and phobias that you can think of. They are still active victims of those systems right now. Again, we are remiss if we do not acknowledge. We're also, again, there's the whole rest of the world is still continuing to suffer from this global pandemic due to lots of different systemic issues that I want to acknowledge. And last but not least, I want to acknowledge, again, you all for being here and being about the work, because as I always like to say, there were a million reasons for you not to be here, but you only needed one in order to show up. And for that, we thank you, we welcome you. And one of my favorite quotes I will share very quickly from Tupac, and I think a lot of folks have heard this one, right, is that, the magic doesn't necessarily need to be in this room. But as Tupac says, we might not be the ones that change the world, but if we do our work well, we might have an inkling, a small opportunity to interact with that young person down the line that is going to change the world. And that's incumbent upon all of us in this room. Last thing, I said it was the last thing like 10 minutes ago, but this really is the last thing. We take this work very seriously, but we also got to make sure that we're having fun while we're doing it. This is passion work. And if your heart's not in this work, if you're not having a good time doing this work, either you need to get with some people to recharge or you need to get out of this work. So I just want to make sure that we say that we want to have fun today. And just to illustrate that really quickly, some of y'all, right, because I told y'all this wasn't going to be the typical meeting. This whole thing is about relationships. We use a fancy word called mentoring, but at the end of the day, this is about relationships. And all relationships, ladies and gentlemen, start with a hello. So I want y'all to stand up, and I want you to go and find somebody in this room that you don't know. One person, we're not going to spend all day on this, and meet somebody that you don't know right now, because this is where it all starts. And in the chat box online, make sure y'all are introducing yourselves online as well. If we're not walking out of here with some new people, we've messed up for today. Yeah, Daryl, I see you. I see you, my man, networking. That's right. Okay, get their business card and come on back. That was just a start. Okay, let's do it. All right, everybody back. That was just a taste. See all the amazing people in the room? Let's do it. Rashim and Shalana, I see y'all. Now, don't worry, y'all gonna have all time at lunch now, okay? You gotta save some networking for later. So with that, again, please give yourselves a round of applause. We're gonna keep rolling here. Thank you all for indulging us. Everything starts with a relationship. So next, I wanna be able to just thank, unfortunately, our colleagues, our often and frequent collaborators from the Office of the Deputy Mayor's for Education's Office of Out-of-School Grants and Outcomes. It's a mouthful, AKA the Learn 24 team was unable to join us today. They're at an all-team meeting, but again, they send their welcome, their appreciation for all the work that everybody in this room is doing. And again, just an amazing group of individuals. So we really look forward to collaborating more with them in the future. And with that, I would love the honor to bring up our esteemed council member representing Ward 8. For those of you all who do not know, Trayon White Sr., he is a staunch advocate for young people, not only throughout this ward, but throughout the district, has spent his entire career uplifting young people, fighting for young people, as well as communities and families, because we understand that there are no young people without the communities and families from which they come. So I'm just really honored to have our council member representing this ward, this beautiful ward, Trayon White, to give us some words of welcome as well this morning.
I know he's gonna have my picture of us. But good morning. Good morning. So I want to thank Sadiq for his leadership and what he's doing, expanding his reach. When I first met you guys, you were Mentors Maryland, and now you are Mentors Maryland, DC. So welcome to DC. Give a round of applause. Welcome to DC. And my name is Trayon White. I do serve as a city council here in Washington, D.C., particularly this ward, and I grew up right here in this community. In fact, I played at the Boys and Girls Club across the street where I met most of my mentors in my life to help me change the trajectory of where I'm going. I see a lot of individuals in the room who do youth development for quite some time. Ms. Joy, who's been a staunch advocate for youth and young adults across the city for a few decades. And I'm just excited for what's the opportunities here that's coming to D.C. I think that bad things happen when good people do nothing. And we talked about creating bridges and opportunities for young people to expand their reach. And we're pressing. Actually, I had a meeting with Baloo's principal yesterday. We look forward to doing some work inside of our local high schools and middle schools, not just in Ward 8, but across the city. I had a conversation last week with a guy, and we were talking about influence and some of the people who influenced us. And some of those influences are negative, and some of those are positive. And he was telling me that he was in real estate because when he grew up, he was around people who were in real estate. And now he's a mega millionaire right now, traveling across the country, and he's younger than me. I'm 37. He's 26. And you can clap to that. That's powerful. But I believe that sometimes young people become what they see. And so it's on us to create more positive images and put those in front of our young people so they can achieve and maximize their greatest potential. And there's so many. In Ward 8, we have 82% single parent households, predominantly African-American females running a household. And so we have to be intentional about impact in our community because our young people are falling through the cracks day and night, but there are some who make it through. But we have to make sure we increase those numbers who make it by creating mentors. I'm only here because God sent me some angels, from William Lockridge to Marion Berry to Deron to Monty to Coach Bucky to Coach Noddy, you name them. He sent me some unique people in my life to change my trajectory, where I'm able to be a council member in the ward I grew up in. And so we have to create more opportunities like that across the world. And our young people are going through. You can clap to that. Because our young people are going through so many challenges. You see what's going on during the pandemic and through the violence and through just totally not having a voice. And so we have to create avenues and panels and discussions to elevate their voices. Because what they're going through is nothing like we went through. I know when I grew up, we had Black Planet and MySpace. Some of you are a little older than me. We didn't have Instagram, so the Facebook and all that. So some of you are a little bit older than me. So I don't know what you had, Atari, I don't know. But it's through social media has created a new dynamic when it comes to youth engagement and video games. And so we want to be impactful. We want to welcome you to DC and to our ward. Look forward to working with you guys and look forward to having impact here in the city. Thank you and God bless.
Now, if we can give another round of applause for Councilmember Trayon White. I think his point is such a critical one. All of us have the potential to be influencers, and that's what this is about at the end of the day, is how we wield that influence for good. So with that it is my next pleasure and honor to welcome Mr. David Shapiro. If you all don't know who Mr. David Shapiro is, I invite you all to visit Dr. Google. He will inform you all about Mr. Shapiro. But what I will tell you about David is that number one, David is one of my mentors, who I look to for a great many things as it pertains to leadership, manhood, fatherhood, and many other areas. And those are the things that I like sharing about people, not just their resume. Of course, he leads Mentor National, which is the nation's leading advocacy support organization for mentoring, for championing, right? But the other things I can tell you is that his staff loves working for him. To me, that's more important than, right, all the other accolades. Are you a good human being? And that's what I can say about David more than anything, is that I appreciate him being a good human being. So David, if you would offer some words of welcome, that'd be awesome.
So I feel weird using a microphone in a room this size. I feel like I can do it without, but I'm gonna do it. You know, I would just say, first of all, I'm a little bit at a loss for words, which is rare for me because of what he just said. Because the idea of being any kind of mentor to someone who inspires me so much is a little bit breathtaking. I learn mostly from Sadiq every day. And a lot of the reason that I'm here has to do with that kind of inspiration and elevation around the work that you're doing, around what this day signifies, around Councilmember White, around the promise of Ward 8, and the work that you guys do, and the fact that we're showing up together today, whether on the screen or whether in person. Because right, everybody always asks me to speak about like national trends and, you know, what's going on in Congress and all these. I can talk about it, but the work gets made real right here in this room by you. You know, there's a guy who I listen to a lot named Sean Dove, who used to run the campaign for Black Male Achievement, who would always, at some point in a talk, would always say, like, we are the ones really to try to figure out who is the boogeyman and who are we waiting for? I know I am. I'm waiting for the pandemic to end. And, you know, and I got news for you, even at a personal level and a professional level, I'm sure for you too, it's hard to sort of manage the emotions of, that's probably not the way this is going to work. There isn't going to be a day that this ends. But I had that unrealistic expectation, much like, you know, young people in our lives, or we have expectations that young people are fine. Like we got them to this point, or they got themselves to this point, or we have a sense that mentors are fine. Oh, we screened them and trained them, so good luck. The bottom line is the human condition is one that needs constant nurturing and constant unconditional love. And we all need it, whether we're going through a pandemic, whether we have all the resources in the world or no resources. The one universal human truth, and if we've ever learned it, it's been the last 2 years, it's that we need each other, and that this is like a day in, day out, minute to minute thing. I wish I had like a diet pill for you. I don't. There is no technology coming to save us, by the way. There's a lot of technological innovations that have happened during this time. There'll always be program innovations. These are all good things. There'll always be new research, and hopefully there'll be lots more new money worthy of all your work. But we still day in and day out show up. And to me, like from a data standpoint, that is what's been inspiring about the pandemic. We surveyed mentoring programs. 85% of the mentoring programs in America said they were now providing services outside of their normal services. Now, again, I am worried about what that means for their overall economic health and their mental health, but it also, for me, really illustrates what this movement is all about. It's like we don't stay in our lane. Like once we're in each other's lives, we're going to meet the needs, whatever they are. If it's getting Wi-Fi to kids, if it's getting food to families, if it's helping people find jobs, like mentoring is not this very narrow thing. It is a little bit messy in a beautiful way that I think is representative of the human condition. It's also hard because it's a little bit messy. But the idea that Mentor, you know, would be in DC, that because of Sadiq and the team's leadership, we would be strong enough in Maryland in like less than a handful of years since we launched in Maryland under Sadiq's leadership, that we'd be ready to be ambitious enough to try to come to DC and simply be worthy of all of you, not to lead anything, but just to be in servant leadership of all of you, to try to be like a sixth person on the floor, to kind of expand your efforts and feel like something that's additive, that helps you get to schools at scale, that helps you lobby for money, that helps you be in conversations you want to be in as a field. As organizations, you will still operate that way. There's no unrealistic sense that you won't keep on keeping on, and you have to do that. But there's something about being a part of a field. And I always say, like, I wish I could explain the feeling, but when we're at the National Mentoring Summit, which is in DC, which hopefully a bunch of you guys have been able to attend, there's a lot of like exciting and neat things that happen there. But the one thing that happens to me every year, and the year it doesn't, I'll be worried, is that somebody comes up to me from somewhere who runs a mentoring program or works in a mentoring program and says, I had no idea. And I say, what did you have no idea about? Because I'm like, was it the workshops? Did you meet a researcher? What did you have no idea about? I had no idea this many people were doing what I'm doing, I sort of feel a part of something bigger than myself. And there's something really special. You talked about the creator. People belong to things, whether they're religions or clubs or fraternities or sports teams, because they're craving something larger than themselves. That's what also mentoring is trying to provide, a belonging, a sense of that people will be with you. And I think as mentoring professionals, often in the work of weaving magically relationships, we can feel lonely. And so our work here is simply to make the work less lonely, to make it feel amplified and elevated, to be someone who can respond to your needs. Does not mean we will have solutions immediately, but who can respond to your needs and can try to attack the common things that everybody's facing at a level of scale that maybe couldn't happen otherwise. And I'm just, we worked on some things with DCPS a bunch of years ago when My Brother's Keeper was kind of spreading through a lot of the districts, and trying to do that work without knowing the programs on the ground and having that trust and commitment was so hard. I mean, we knew we were operating kind of like with a hand tied behind our back. And the idea that we will be on the ground here, know all of you, know what's going on, know who's best situated to be in what places, know the work you're doing. It's just going to make us so much better at being able to position, best serve, best connect your work. Because really, if we don't figure this part out, if we don't figure out the relationship part, as we said at the beginning, we're going to be, that's sort of, to me, the answer to a lot of what ails us is this sense of connection, this sense of hope, the sense of belonging, and the sense that, like, not only can I see it, to the council member's great point, but also somebody's going to be with me as I find my way to it. Because there is no flip switch, right? There is no flip switch for any of us. We're just about being nurtured and caring for one another to get there. So with that, I just say congratulations. Thank you to all of you. Thank you for being here. I'm psyched to be with you, and I'll turn it back over to the boss. Thanks.
Awesome. Everybody still with us? Okay. We moving right along. Really appreciate that. I've said in the past, and one of my favorite quotes is that, one of the biggest tricks that the devil has played on us, right, is making you think that you're alone when you're doing that hard thing and when you're doing that thing that needs to get done. That's one of the greatest tricks. So I really appreciate that point about, looking around, right? Look around the room. This is only, again, a small fraction, and the room is full, a small fraction. So again, what happens when we know each other at a deep level? What happens when we are able to work with each other at a deep level? That's where the magic is. So with that, we want to be able to give you all a little bit of an overview very briefly. I'm going to really speed through this portion, if you will, because everybody should have received a set of handy dandy documents. Somebody hold those up. What we think is a pretty, yeah, there we go. Like, that was almost like a music video. That was great. So these handy dandy documents really lay out in a lot more detail than what I'm going to in these next couple of minutes. Some of our vision, some of our process, how we got here, not just today physically, but also in philosophy. But most importantly, there's a good amount of information around what we heard over these last couple of weeks and months. So we invite you all to, with a fine-tooth comb, hopefully sooner than later, to go through these documents. But again, today, our objective is to really give a high-level overview and hopefully leave you all wanting some more and to be able to continue in partnership with us. So as David just said, again, much more eloquently than this very, very jumbled slide up here, Mentor Maryland, DC, we exist really as a connector, as a champion, much like all of you all in this room, for quality and quantity of mentoring relationships across our region. That includes Maryland, and that includes DC. We really act as almost an association, a network, this really warm family community, to David's point, where you all can come and we can be together, we can learn from each other, because a lot of times, again, it's not just what's going wrong, but we also need to spend time on what's going right. And that's, again, one of the other purposes. If I was to add to my long list from earlier, another one of those purposes is for us to continue to share what is going right and for us to be able to do more of that. And really, that's an asset-based approach. Our work really operates in these three distinct pillars. It's our quality work. And again, there's some information that you all can get from us at a later time. But our quality work is all about our training, our technical assistance, our quality assurance assessments. It's our quantity work, that is increasing the sheer number of folks in the field, right? When we constantly survey programs, one of the things that we hear often, right, is that there's two big challenges, like that almost flow through every sort of program, right? M&M, we need more mentors and we need more money. So in that regard, we exist to help lighten that load just a bit in terms of larger scale mentor recruitment events. Some of our work that we're really, really excited about undertaking soon with DCPS. How do we get to scale? Because one of the questions that we know, or one of the answers to the question, is that, how many young people are in programs? Not nearly enough. And the reality is that, when we hear from funders, Sadiq, aren't there too many mentoring programs? I always have to stop myself from laughing. I'm like, there's not nearly enough. Now, the challenge is that, are we all doing what it takes to operate at our highest potential, at our highest quality? That's also an answer that we can spend some time on. But we know the vast majority of young people are not in mentoring organizations or any formal sort of program, leadership or otherwise, and we aim to change that and support that from happening. And lastly is our elevating the field work. So gatherings like this, advocating. We have some really, really exciting conversations coming up with DC Action. So that way we can start to think about a specific mentoring advocacy agenda, right? So we can bring more folks like Councilmember Trayon White and the rest of the DC Council on board with thinking ahead of what it is that specifically each of the programs, or at least many of the programs, could benefit from. These are just some of the areas that we work in. So again, a little bit about the covenant. We get this question often, what is it about this word covenant? So I wanted to spend just a moment in this spirit, right, as we're talking spiritually, this idea of the covenant, why we've named our recent strategic plan, is why we named our original report. David doesn't know this, but this is one of his favorite words, and our naming this report was heavily, heavily influenced by David. And this idea of covenant, when you really look into what it means, as we've laid out here in this particular slide, this is beyond, the common synonym that we hear for the word covenant is promise, but it's a much, much deeper relationship than a promise. And I wanted us to just think a moment about the commitments that we make in our lives and whether or not they are simple promises or whether or not they are true covenants. Because a covenant means to death do us part. A covenant means that, as David laid out, we do whatever it takes. We do whatever it takes to get the job done in that moment. That's a covenant. A covenant means that I have accountability to a higher power, not just the person on the other side of the room or the other side of the table that I run the risk of disappointing. Sure, that's a part of it, but a covenant is much, much deeper than that. So when we talk about, as an organization, as a community, as a group of committed individuals that we are in this room, and again, joining us virtually, this idea of the covenant is one that I hope that we can embrace together, because it's much deeper than just the idea of mentoring or just the idea of a promise, right? It is a privilege and a responsibility. There's two sides to every coin, right? So that covenant it's a great responsibility, but also a great privilege to be in relationship with each other, to be in relationship with young people. So when we hear that word covenant, I want y'all to just think a little bit differently about it from here on out. So when we talk about growing the covenant, this is what we're talking about, because covenants, not simple promises, right? Or as Trayon always talks about, simple campaign jargon, we got to move beyond that, because when we're talking covenants, that's something that hits here, and it's a lot different. So a little bit about covenant. So some findings. So what did we hear during this DC Town Hall? So again, super high level. There was a lot of information on these in these reports. But a couple of the things. So number one, we conducted these 3 DC mentoring town halls. I can't see the screen down here. So we have these 3 DC mentoring town halls that we were fortunate enough, privileged enough to be able to host this past summer. And there were a couple of really, really key things about the process that we wanted to highlight. And really that third one there is that, again, we want this to be as inclusive as a process as possible. And we never, ever want to be helicoptering in like we're all of a sudden the only folks that know anything about mentoring. Not only is that completely crazy, it's also disrespectful. And it's something that, again, when we talk about approaching this work through an asset-based lens, there is some superpower that each one of you all has that, again, shame on us when we don't share it enough. Shame on us when we don't share with each other. So again, oftentimes though, we miss out on these opportunities to do that. So that's part of our deal while we exist is to, in some regards, right, force a little bit of this networking, get folks out, right? That activity, we do that often. Just get out of your seats, because folks got different personality types and you might be a little less inclined to just go up and meet somebody. That's why we got this cool thing in your name badge. If you have not taken the time to fill out your favorite song, right, or your favorite book, or movie that describes your mentoring style, take a moment. That was there to encourage conversation. Mine is Lean On Me, by the way, by Bill Withers, rest in peace. An amazing artist. Y'all know Bill Withers. And again, we want to make sure that anything that we do, we include multiple stakeholders and we're talking to as many folks as possible. So in terms of what we heard, there were a few really consistent themes from what we heard. This is who we heard from. So before we get there, who we heard from, so just an idea of, again, a bit more of the scale, right? And again, this still isn't everybody. So over 100 attendees at 3 different virtual town hall sessions, representatives from over 60 different organizations, which is really cool. All wards were served by those programs in attendance, meaning that those programs and there's young people present in all those different wards inside those organizations, and that collectively over 6,000 youth served by those individuals that attended those town halls with us during the summer, which we feel really good about, because again, we need to hear from as many folks as possible. You know, you're never going to get the true consensus, but man, can we hear from the majority of folks? Can we look for some common themes? And that's what we aim to do. Now, in terms of what we heard, there were 2 really big things that folks shared with us. And one of those is the other M that we talked about, right? So money and mentors, right? But we were really pleasantly surprised and really encouraged by this first one, which is around youth engagement. This idea, again, going much deeper with the concept of nothing about us without us. We've got to own that and live that every single day in this field called youth development. And there are a great number of organizations that really want to take this more seriously and strive to incorporate youth voice, and not just youth voice, right? But also youth choice and also youth leadership, which we understand is a continuum. Youth voice is a start, right? I hear you. I might not necessarily do anything with that information, but I hear you. It's cool. Thank you for sharing, right? We do that sometimes with our spouses. I know I'm not the only one. She does it to me too. But the next layer of that is youth choice. Help us guide this organization, help us guide this program, which is youth leadership, equal opportunity to make decisions inside an organization as a true partnership. Part of that covenant that we spoke about is a really big deal. And then the other piece, which again, this is something that Councilmember White talks about all the time as well, fund development for mentoring programs. How do we get more tangible resources into the hands of those doing the work? There are a number of initiatives. There's some community development grants that he was instrumental in spearheading, where literally organizations all across the city, no matter what kind of program you ran, if it was of a benefit to the community, you were eligible to apply for grant funds. It was an absolutely amazing opportunity here in the city. We want to create more opportunities just like that for folks that are doing the work at all levels in many different pockets of the city to be able to benefit. And again, that only happens through us being able to work together. And then some of our priorities, and again, these are written about in great detail in our strategic plan, are again, all about advocating for systems level change. I think President Obama has said it before, and there's a couple other folks that have said it, right? But programs alone aren't enough. We're not going to program our way out of systems level challenges. But the trick and the challenge is not to make that conversation a binary one, right? A false sort of a choice deal here, right? Where it's either or. We have to do both. We have to strengthen our programs, as well as we have to address systems level challenges. If we don't do both, then the boat's always going to be rocking back and forth. And if anybody ever been in a boat that capsized, that's what happens when that thing is rocking too. You know, I had a buddy, he just capsized the other day. That's why it's fresh in my mind. I hope he's doing all right. So advocating for systems level change. Number two, expanding mentoring programs, just increasing the sheer number, right, and scale of our programs. How can we take and maintain quality? How can we take an organization that's serving 20 young men and turn that into 50 or 100 or 200, right? How do we take that organization that's working with 30 young people after school and support them and growing that to 100? And there's a lot of different answers to that question, but that's one of the big questions that we're asking. And then again, shifting the narrative around mentoring. This is a big one. For a really, really long time, there's been a really unfortunate narrative that mentoring is only for poor Black boys, or for those boys just running the street. And this is a narrative that has been pushed all too often throughout the mentoring field, but it's just not accurate. And we need to expand the vision. Folks come into relationships for lots of different reasons, but we need to get rid of this binary that mentoring or only one set of young people need mentoring. Nothing could be further from the truth. As we've heard throughout our conversations already this morning, all young people benefit from relationships. And as we as adults have learned through the pandemic, all of us benefit from relationships too. So how about that? As we continue on. So, and then a bit deeper in the priorities. And again, these are spelled out in greater detail inside our reports that you all have. I'm not going to read through all of these, but these are some of the strategies and tactics that we're going to be looking to implement. And again, we're going to need your help in bringing that to fruition. And part of one of these, or one of the main priorities and pieces for us bringing folks together today is this idea that, again, we need new visions and new ideas. So hopefully, as you all are hearing these priorities, your juices are flowing, your ideas are starting to marinate about how can we do this a little bit differently? How can we approach our work in a slightly different way for some increased outcomes and scale? So that's a little bit about that. Hopefully you all will be inspired to read some more about that. And yeah, we appreciate y'all. Make some noise. No, there's one more here. Yeah. Keep making some noise though. And these are some of our future plans, just a small sampling of some of the things that that we hope to be able to work with several partners in the room on. But again, relaunching the DC Mentoring Coalition. You know, shout out to United Way of the National Capital Area. They did some amazing work. Our good friend here, I want to shout him out, Tom Pollock, has done some amazing work with the DC TMI, the Tutoring and Mentoring Initiative. Tom has been one of the leading voices in bringing folks together for a mission, because that's one of the other key things that we heard is that we want to gather, but we don't want to gather for the sake of gathering. Though there is power in gathering for the sake of gathering, let me just say that. Sometimes we don't do that enough, right? As we talk about being alone, but another conversation. But if we're able to balance the two, gathering for a purpose, as well as, you know, some non-program time, as we would say, right, in the program world, that would be sort of that sweet spot. So we heard that loud and clear. So we're looking at the timing for starting to bring back that idea of the mentoring coalition. We're looking at integrating and doing more work with DCPS. We know that working with our local school districts is the only way to bring this thing to scale. Right? The majority of our young people are in a school as a captive audience, and sometimes that word is literal, y'all know what I mean, but many of our young people are there for an extended period of time. We need to be looking to integrate more supports and services and relationship-centered work in our schools. So we're really excited about potential partnership with DCPS. A DC Mentoring Summit, right? So a space where we can learn together. So this is a great venue, obviously, and an opportunity for conversation, but the National Mentoring Summit is for national conversations, et cetera, right? But having a space for DC practitioners specifically to come together, we think would be an amazing push. So that's something we're going to be working on. Citywide mentoring recruitment, some collaborative training with Learn24, a DMV practitioner-led roundtables, which is something we're really excited about. That is about capitalizing on the expertise that's in the room. Again, there's no one person, again, I'll say, is the keeper of all knowledge. So we're really looking forward to being able to hear from the practitioners in the room to be able to, again, train and lift up those additional voices. So with that, that concludes this portion. There's one other slide, I keep saying it. Okay, so we're just gonna skip this one. This is in your book. So with that, appreciate you all. There's more information on there. We're gonna absolutely be sticking around later on. We love to get thoughts, comments, questions, etc. To myself or any of the team. We're gonna forego question and answer right now, so we can save that time to tackle into the panel that we're about to get into in one moment. But before we do that, we wanted to share with you all a really, really cool thing that we did earlier this summer, all about community in action. So I'm gonna bring up our ops manager, Ms. Sada Hyla, to tell you all a little bit about that. Sada.
Hello, everyone. This is so exciting to see everyone here in DC. To our virtual folks, hello. In the chat box, if you're still awake and you're feeling everything Sadiq just shared, put 1 or exclamation marks. For our folks here today, we're gonna be on IG. We're gonna say, DC stays ready 2021, all right? So is everyone awake? How's everyone feeling? Like, no, how's everyone feeling? Okay. So at a count of 1, 2, 3, we're gonna go ahead and say DC stays ready 2021. DC stays ready 2021. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. DC stays ready. So follow our social media if you haven't done that. You'll see it on there. Again, I'm so thankful that everyone's here. We have a short video to show you all, and like Sadiq said, with our Gumption team, Kay and Marty produced this video for us, and we invited some DC programs that we worked with in the past and other programs that we wanted to kind of include. So Best Kids, I know Horton's Kids is here, Kid Power, they're here today. Thank you, and you're gonna see them in the video as well. And I also want to shout out to our team, our Mentor Maryland DC team, putting all this together. Yes. And just like we expanded to DC, we have a brand new team. It used to just be Sadiq and I for the longest. Now we gained about 5 new folks within the past 2 weeks. So thank you all. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with this video. So it was in May of this past summer. We wanted to make a formal declaration to let DC know that we're here and that we're here to support you all, and for y'all to, teach us how we can support you all. So enjoy this video. Yeah.
Clicker. Grow the mentoring movement by providing direct support,
fostering connections, and advocating for the many mentoring programs that are alive and well in DC and the surrounding communities.
We're excited to introduce ourselves. Just watch the pretty images, though.
Everybody. Come join the mentoring movement and visit mentormddc.org today.
We believe that all young people deserve quality mentoring experiences, and Mentor Maryland DC exists to ensure that happens.
Our role is to grow the mentoring movement by providing direct support,
fostering connections, and advocating for the many mentoring programs that are alive and well in DC and the surrounding communities.
We're excited to introduce ourselves and share ways you can support young people in the region.
The mentoring movement is alive and well in DC. There's so many ways to get involved. We have something for everybody. Come join the mentoring movement and visit mentormddc.org today.
Okay, there we go. Make some noise, make some noise. There we go. We made it happen. Good job. All right, all right. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and start bringing up our panelists, so we can move to this next section of the program. If anybody needs a break, et cetera, anybody need a break? We need to take 5, anybody need 5? Let's take 5, We're gonna take 5, we're gonna bring up our panel, get that all set up. Folks, take 5, we'll be back in 5 minutes for y'all, 5 minutes. A real 5 minutes, y'all, 12:10, that's 6 minutes, 12:10. We'll get our panel set up.
she got it. Parties with her friends, and she goes on fancy days. She has it. But there's another girl behind the diamonds and champagne. Tonight she's downtown. Cause all her uptown boys don't understand her anyway. And she's just dancing. Oh, oh. Make the cold nights feel like summer days. Oh, 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 make the cold nights feel like summer days. Make the cold nights feel like summer days. She knows she got it. Oh, oh. She plays hard to get, but all these games give hard to play. And she posts pictures. Oh, oh. Of everywhere she goes when she goes on holiday. But tonight she's downtown. Traded in the diamonds and champagne for Chardonnay. And she's just dancing. Oh, oh, oh. Make the cold nights feel like summer days. Oh,
All right, all right, all right. We're gonna bring it back. Looks like we lost a couple of folks to the bathroom blues. I'm just joking. They will be back. I have no doubt. Again, make some noise. Make sure y'all are still alive. Make some noise. Y'all are still in the building. DC, stay ready. I like that, Sada. That was good. DC, stay ready. That was good. All right, so we're gonna get ready to join back in the conversation. We are excited about this portion of the show. It is my pleasure. Let's see. Let me see here. That's weird. You can't see the names up there. That's odd. But we're gonna still make it do it. Oh, I see that. That's interesting. Okay. All right, but we have the names anyway, though. So it's my pleasure. The names are up there, but apparently very, very light. If we dim the lights back there, we'll get with our guys. But they are all here in the flesh, so they will introduce themselves as our moderator does. Will do as well. But it's my pleasure to introduce to you our moderator for this amazing Growing the Covenant panel, an opportunity to hear directly from our young people and some of our local program leaders as well. Mr. Dayon Johnson, who is our new program outreach and support manager for the DC Metro market. Please make some noise for him. A couple of quick words about Dayon. Dayon, for the last, I ain't gonna say how many years, Dayon, but for the last several years has been truly, truly committed. He's the co-founder of the Mentoring to Manhood program, which is still in operation, servicing both young men in Prince George's County as well as in the district. Dayon is an author like myself. Shout out to all the authors in the room. Dayon is just an amazing individual, has a deep love and passion for working with our young people. We're excited to have him on the team, and we're excited for him to be able to lead this conversation. Dayon, come on up.
Y'all give it up for Sadiq. Thank y'all so much for allowing me to be a part of this incredible event. And I must let y'all know, my first day is next week. So I'm doing this for free. So y'all can just leave. Please leave your collections at the table back in the back. But this is a great, great opportunity. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be working with the mentoring programs that are in DC. Today's panel, we were very strategic with today's panel because the organizations that we have selected take mentoring from different perspectives. So we've got in community mentoring organizations. We've also got in school organization, and we also have one that works with foster children. And the panelists that are leading those organizations are here with us today, and I'm getting ready to introduce them to you. Can y'all give them a hand? Let me just go ahead and put this out there. I'm going to go ahead and craft our relationship this morning. I want to craft our relationship so that we can all be on the same page. I am nervous as hell. Right, I'm just going to say that out there because this is new, and there's a new opportunity to learn. And you know, when you come into a space where you know that you have so much to learn. It brings a whole lot of anxiety to that situation. So I'm going to ask for your patience and grace with me, and I'll do the same for you. But it's not about me, it's about these incredible organizations that we're about to introduce. So first, I'd really like to, can y'all give them a hand for coming up? Mimi, I see you glaring at me. First, we've got BAM, which is Becoming a Man, and the newly appointed executive director. Is that correct? Because BAM started in Chicago. Is that correct? And so Rasheem Rook, you are the new executive director, newly appointed for Washington, DC. Is that correct? Can y'all give him a hand? Can you tell us a little bit about what your role is going to be?
Sure. My role will be to build this program, this organization from the ground up, but not by myself. As I said, Youth Guidance is the organization that has created and implemented this program, Becoming a Man, BAM. There was a red hot light that was put on it by way of former President Barack Obama. And then that program expanded throughout Chicago, into Boston, over to Dallas, LA, Kansas City, Seattle, London, and now DC. And it'll be my job, my privilege as the new executive director with our partners to get this program off the ground in DCPS.
Awesome. Awesome. Another organization, thank you, Rasheem. Another incredible organization that's here in DC that everybody knows about is Horton's Kids. Can y'all give them a hand? So I'm excited to present Najuma Lewison. Can you give us a little introduction about your organization as well?
Hi, my name is Najuma Lewison. I am the Youth Development Coordinator at Horton's Kids. And with the help of Mentor Maryland DC, I was able to revamp our mentoring program to not only be about exposure opportunities, but we are very skill-based now, skill-focused. And I have two of my mentees with me.
Thank you, Najuma. We're going to ask some more questions about your organization. Thank you for joining our panel. All right, we also have today representing Best Kids. Can y'all give Best Kids a hand? Carl Scott.
Good morning, everybody. Best Kids is a mentoring program for youth that are in foster care between the ages of 6 and 21 years old. And we value the one-on-one mentoring aspect for our kids in our program. And up here we have one of our alumni kids who actually has one of the positions of helping the kids in the program. So it's pretty much like a wraparound service. We invest in you, and then he's going to be able to invest in the kids in our program. And then we also have one of our mentees here as well. So yeah, we're just happy to be here, you know.
Very good. Can y'all just give a hand for our young people that are also on the panel? Just real quick, we're going to ask some questions to our executive directors and our program coordinators, and then we'll also have an opportunity to open up for question and answer at the end. But the first question that we would like to ask is, first, what brought you to mentoring and what keeps you in mentoring? We'll start with you, Carl.
For me, mentoring is very important, right? I grew up in New York City, the Bronx to be exact, and I didn't have too many mentors, so I got involved with a lot of things that were the best choices for me. But I had a few people as I got older to say, you know, there's more to you. And that's what mentoring is. They're able to speak to the talent and your true abilities when you don't even know that you have that. And so that's what brought me to the space, to be able to provide that same type of energy for the kids that are in our program. And kids as well who inspire me. This kid in particular spoke in this room 2 years ago and said a quote that has always resonated with me. And he says that youth voice only go as far as adult action.
Ooh. Wow.
Yes. And so just making sure that I have his back and and he holds us accountable as the staff at our program to make sure that we're holding up our end of the bargain when we're investing our time into the kids. All right.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Carl. How about you, Najima?
Just to reiterate, the question is, what brings me here and what keeps me here?
What brought you here? Yeah. And then what keeps you, especially with Mimi?
It's all love.
What brought me here was, as a teen, I didn't make the best decisions and choices. I like to describe as I was adventurous and I was rebellious. But I understood even back then, something that I wanted was someone that could give me guidance outside of my mother, just another person to really support me. And I never felt like I had that. So once I became an adult, I understood the journey that the youth were going through. And I wanted to make sure that they had that support person that could just help them make the steps along the way to become a better version of themselves. What keeps me in this work is that in 2017, I took on a very intimidating volunteer position to be an actual mentor. And I still do that work till this day with the young lady, and she's about to graduate high school. When I came to Horton's Kids, I saw how my impact with another young lady, I saw that impact, and I want to bring that to Horton's Kids and help these youth, because at the end of the day, every win to me is going to be a big win, whether it be something like graduating high school or something as completing your homework for a week. I don't care what it is. I think every win should be celebrated, and that just helps them along the path, along their journey.
Yeah, that's good.
I grew up just a few subway stops away from Carl in either Yonkers or Mount Vernon. I would bounce back and forth between the two. And as a
We're not
child,
getting any love from New York,
Yeah,
from the audience.
all New York here, all New York here.
No. Okay, got a couple.
And what brings me to this work is my own experience. I'm the beneficiary of a mentor. My mother tried to raise me as best she could, but working 3 jobs, trying to maintain an apartment for herself and her 2 children was difficult. So she signed us up for this Big Brother, Big Sister program. And I guess Big Brother, Big Sister in the house, huh?
In the house.
And I ended up at 7 being connected with some half Italian, Polish dude from 3 towns away who had to do this because he needed hours to graduate from high school. It ended up being the best relationship I ever had, and it set the stage as a model for what I would need for the rest of my life. Someone who can show the blueprint, hold my hand, talk me through it, empower me, and then step away and give me the opportunity to make my choice, learn from it, and grow. So seeing that as a child, growing up, even to now, he's still in my life, Stephen Arliss, he's out in Texas now in the Navy, a Navy physician. That is what brought me to this work, because it saved my life. What keeps me in this work is because it's needed. This is something that is needed, not just for the people, the young folk that I come in contact with, but also needed for me. I will not be whole if I cannot be for someone else what I needed in my own life. So that keeps me here. It keeps me focused. It keeps me going. And it is the reason why I do this work.
That's awesome. Let's give a shout out. That's so good. You know, and we've got many mentoring organizations that are here with us today. We'd like to give a shout out to you as well for coming and joining us. And do you hear the similarities with the whys, why we do what we do? So just give yourself a hand as we continue to ask a couple more questions. And this might be preaching to the choir. This might be preaching to the choir on this one. And we'll start with you, Rasheem. We'll just head back this way. What would you say to an individual who's thinking about mentoring, but they're kind of on the fence? You know, I'm not sure if I got time. I'm not sure if I got anything to give. I'm not sure if, you know, the kids are going to receive me. I'm not sure. What would you say to that person?
You're mentoring whether you know it or not. Somebody's looking at you. Somebody's learning from you, and taking on the responsibility to be a member puts you in the driver's seat. Because if you don't take on that responsibility intentionally, you could be potentially teaching people negative things. So you have to make a choice, because you're saying you don't want to mentor, but we can point to plenty of examples of where you are actually mentoring and not knowing it. Whether it's with a child in your household or someone in the community, someone on your job, one of your coworkers, maybe someone who wants to get to your level. And they may not have said it. How many times we have said, we've had people come to us and say to us, you know what, 10 years ago, you did X, Y, and Z, and I was looking at you and I learned from it. People come to us after the fact to tell us that we were their role models. So if there was someone who was on the fence, I would say, congratulations, you're already someone else's role model. Now you have an opportunity to take control of that experience. That's good. That's what I would share.
Junior, what would you say?
My best advice is really just go for it. I think every journey is something to learn from. So I'm just like, hey, just shoot for it, especially if you're young. I think when a young person is going along their journey, they actually have a lot to give to younger people. And as a person that recruits mentors, that's what I don't really see. I think young people, we are intimidated. We feel like, oh, I don't understand. I'm not sure where I want to be yet. I'm still making this decision. I'm not doing everything right. At the end of the day, you are, like he said, you are inspiring someone and you don't even know it. I always tell the kids, don't exactly be like me, be better than me. They see the mistakes that I even make at work, and I still tell them, like, just learn from that. It's always a way to bounce back. So that's my best advice. Yes. Go for it. If you are feeling insecure about it, you don't think that you have what it takes, just do it. It's an experience. You can learn from the kids can learn from you at the end of the day.
That's so good. That's so good. So good. What about you, Carl?
For me, I'm the mentor and support specialist at Best Kids. So I'm in charge of being the liaison between the volunteers and the families that we serve, along with the social workers. So I'm in charge of helping people to see that how important your role as a mentor is. I'm recruiting mentors as well. So as I'm speaking to people, the first thing I always ask is, did you have a mentor? What was something that they said to you that you always remembered? How do you think that could help somebody else? Sign up now.
Right.
Sign up now. And I use those tools right there because if you're on the fence about it, you're in the right place. Because you're thinking about the impact that you can have on somebody, particularly a young person, a person who needs direction, a person who needs a little push. And you could be the fuel to them getting to the point that they didn't even know they could get to. So come sign up and be a best Kids mentor, and we got you today.
That's so good. That's so good. Thank you. Thank you. We've got some young people on our panel. We're excited about that. Najuma, can you introduce, I know you said very quickly what their names were. Can you introduce them to us and maybe share a funny story, especially about Mimi? We got to get about, I'm sorry.
To my right, we have Daryl Smith. He is a current Horton's Kids participant. He has been in Horton's Kids since you were in kindergarten? Excuse me, first grade, my bad. He's been with Horton's Kids since first grade. He is now a senior at Dunbar High School.
Come on. Well, y'all can clap more than that. Wow. Come on, Daryl.
And then to my left, we have a Horton's Kids alum, Mimi Carr. She joined Horton's Kids in her 9th grade year of high school. And I actually was, I acted as like her case manager for 2 years. I was her case manager. So we have a very close relationship. Yeah, me and Mimi, I've seen her grow a lot. A funny story about Mimi.
Tremendously. I grew a lot.
Oh, y'all clap it up for Mimi.
Ooh, a funny story. It's a lot of funny. Oh, I know a funny story. The first time I met Mimi, it was at a like holiday mixer, and I think the game was how many marshmallows could you stick in your mouth at once. And I have a picture, and she hates this picture, but it's all love. And she also didn't like me when she first met me. She thought I was bougie, but now she loves me. So there goes the funny story.
And Mimi, we've got the marshmallow pictures on the screen right now. Just just kidding. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Thank you, Najuma. All right, and Carl, you've got some good people with you as well. Can you introduce?
Yeah, definitely. To my right, this is Ronzanella Little. She's a freshman at Oxon Hill High School.
All right.
And she has a fabulous mentor named Jillian. How long have y'all been matched again? They've been matched for 5 years. Okay. And to my left, this is Dorian Thomas. He's an alum of our program. He had a mentor, several mentors, or three mentors, but the one that stands out to him was David. Him and David were matched for 4 years. Yep, and so David still serves as a valuable support system to him now. And Dorian also helps lead our youth advisory club, and that was established in 2018. He was one of the founding members. He helped establish the guidelines and some of the rules that we help implement at Best Kids Today. And now Ronzanella serves on the youth advisory club as well. So and it's a paid stipend for them, so they are able to still, well, here's the thing. His cohort advocated that they needed to be paid for their time. Right. Yeah. And so the new cohort are able to get paid for the time that they do. So yeah.
So Dorian's taking us out to lunch. That's what you're saying. Yeah, I like that.
He got us.
So just want to open up for our panelists, our young people, just real quick. Dorian, we'll start with you and then we'll go the other way. Dorian, what is probably the most impactful thing that you've learned being a mentee and now even stepping into your leadership role?
One of the main things is just sitting, learning, you pretty much being okay with with me wanting what I want. So my mentor, David, for example, a big thing he does ever since day one is he always, whenever we go out, he'd be like, it's whatever you want. I'd be like, hey, sometimes you gotta tell me what you want. He still goes, hey, like it's whatever, pretty much. So that to me was very big because it encouraged me to basically enjoy doing stuff that I want to do, because I always would be mindful about, hey, what does the other person want to do? So, and just learning as well, I would take the time to sit back and just absorb in what was being said. And, just, how do they say it? You got to learn how to follow in order to be a leader. So that's the thing. So that helped me a lot in that way.
Those are good. Yeah, good. Thank you, Dorian. Juan, what about you? Biggest thing you've learned being a mentee, and maybe something else you'd like to share, but mainly the biggest thing you learned is being a mentee in the program.
The biggest thing that I learned was that I'm going to be taken care of. That was a big part in my life for me, that just making sure that there's always going to be someone. And my mentor, Jillian, she will come running. She's gotten me through things. She just made me feel a lot more comfortable with myself, because and for people who are thinking, should I be a mentor? Should I not be a mentor? You should be a mentor. We really need it. I know I really needed it. When I first came into foster care, I wasn't feeling it. I'm gonna be honest. I was not feeling it. It's a big adjustment being into someone else's house, under someone else's rules, from the norm of what you're used to. It's something I had to get used to, and my mentor, she helped me with that. So I'm just very grateful for that.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mimi. The biggest thing that helped me was keep going. Like, just keep going, because I've been through a lot. It might not look like it, like I look like a fun person or whatever, but just keep going because like I have 8 siblings under me and I'm the oldest. So like things get hard. And then sometimes I call Juju, I be like, Juju, I can't do this. I'm not gonna be able to do it. So all she says, Mimi, keep going. You got this. Like, you got this. Like, just keep going because if you don't do it, ain't nobody else gonna do it for you. So you just gotta keep going and do what you wanna do. So now, like right now, I'm just being a big example for my sister because right now my sister, she's like 2 years under me. Like she's in the 10th grade right now. So right now she's like how I was. Well, not like how I was, but how I was. So I have to keep pushing her to keep going. Like it's gonna get hard. You're gonna have mistakes, but look, I've been through those things. So let me help you before you get in that position, you know? So yeah, just keep going. Just like Janae Aiko say, ways, keep going. Yeah, keep going.
Again, I'm Daryl. And the biggest thing my mentor told me was he always say, always expect something to be hard. And me and my mentor is really a newfound relationship. We haven't even been together for 5 months. Haven't even been 5 months. And yet he's already teaching me things that I'm gonna take with me for the rest of my life. And another thing he told me without even teaching me was that he actually did tell me, actually. I'm like, he told me that he drive, it takes him an hour to get from his place to my place. And yet he still be there 10 o'clock in the morning on the dot, anytime I ask him to come. So that's something that you can get from a mentor as well. And it's something else about a mentor. They're not going to teach you the things that the school system is going to teach you. The school system is going to teach you what they want you to learn. They're going to push stuff into your brain that they feel like you need, while a mentor is going to teach you what you want. And that's a big difference when it comes to being your own person in the future.
So good. So awesome. Once again, the older folk in the room, just want to thank y'all young people for being, can y'all clap it up one more time? And being transparent and being vulnerable. Thank you for doing that. We want to open up for questions. Specifically, if any of you program directors, executive directors have any questions for any of the panelists that we have for us today, and we'll just have an open forum for just a few more minutes before we close our panel. Anybody? Yeah. Wait a minute, hold on. Are you allowed to speak?
I'm not qualified as a program director, that's for sure. I had a question just for any of the young folks, not to say that the program staff are not young, but any of the young folks, more about what you hear from your peers about when they hear about your mentoring experience. Is it something they want? Is it something they think is strange? Like just, and maybe there's a lot of different reactions, but how do other people react to you being in a mentoring program?
So for example, my siblings, actually, my brother, he's 16. So he's only 2 years younger than me. I'm 18. So he actually asked me about a mentor because he was confused on how the relationship goes. He's very antisocial himself. He don't like to talk to people. He's not going to talk to people unless you talk to him. So a mentor for him, I was kind of worried, but it seemed as though he wanted because it's different. It's not the same as going up to your father and saying, hey, I want this. Cause I know for my family, my parents, it's 10 of us in the house. They don't got time to come teach us some of the things that the mentor can. Because my mentor right now, he's teaching me how to drive. My parents definitely do not have time to do that. And especially with a 5-month-old baby in the house, it's a lot of work. And that a mentor actually have time for that one-on-one time to actually only think about you.
Can you say the question again?
Yeah, it was just, how do people react, your peers?
Oh, okay. Okay, so my friends, I don't really got a lot of those, but they be like, you got a mentor? I'd be like, yeah, I got a mentor. Everybody needs somebody to talk to. But I'm gonna use my sister for an example. My sister, she is to me, she's very hard to work with. She tries to get her way and it's hard. But I would like her to get, I've been talking to her about getting a mentor, but it's like it's hard because it's like we've been through so much. My mom, I don't know. My mom, I just don't know. She just, I don't know. Oh my God, it's so hard. It's so hard. But being a big sister, like trying to be an example for them is like really hard. But I do try to any program I do get into, I do try to influence my siblings to get involved because why not take the opportunity? You might get far in it. You never know. So like, I'm gonna try to help my sister get a mentor.
Mimi, you are so brave. You're very brave. Thank you for sharing.
So like me in school, like right now, my friends are wondering where I'm at. So I tell them all the time when they're like, oh, can we do something this weekend? I'm like, yeah, sure. When I come from the office where? Oh, I work for the company that got me a mentor to help me out. They're like, a mentor? What's wrong with you? And they say that. They're like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, nothing. And then they're like, the very broad and narrow idea of a mentor is somebody who is helping you because you're just about to just jump off a building. And that's being honest. That's what people feel like. And I'm like, no, we just go do fun stuff. She's just there for me when I need someone to be there for me. I'm cool. Thank you for asking. But like, I tell them that, and it's not just kids that think that. There's adults out here that have such narrow minds, and I really don't like that. And and I'm explaining it to them, and I always tell them that they need to get them a mentor and stuff like that. And they're like, yeah, I might get a mentor. And when they say I might get a mentor, it makes me feel so good about myself. Because like now, like I'm already a part of something bigger than myself. It can be even bigger if they decide, hey mom, I want a mentor. I want someone that's gonna be there for me. Just like how the girl said, my mentor, she does the same thing. She lives an hour away from me. And she comes to get me when I say, oh, I want to do this, or I want to get out the house. I'm feeling a little down. You don't have to be a rebel, or you don't have to not be listening to people or just doing crazy stuff to have a mentor. You can be like a person like me who has anxiety, who needs to get out the house. I'm not a homebody. I'm not going to sit around all day. I can't help it. So when I have someone who's like, oh, well, I want to do something too. What do you want to do? My mentor always asks me, she says, what do you want to do? If you want to do it, we'll do it. If you don't want to do it, we don't have to do it. We can do it another time. She gives me the option to say no, but she also gives me the option to say yes. And people need to start saying yes a little more than what they're doing. Because, yeah, we need more mentors for real.
I'm a little bit removed from being around a lot of peers, but I do remember when I was in back when I was in school, high school, and even middle school, even up until college, and still even a little bit now. Like my experience is a little bit different from theirs. Like when everybody hears I have a mentor, they be like, "That's pretty cool." I'd be like, "Really?" Because like for example, my middle school I went to, it was Friendship Edison Chamberlain campus, had to remember. Like there was actually a program we had, the school got us all into, me and all, you know, the boys from, I believe it was between 4th to 6th grade or 7th grade, maybe 8th grade. We all was given a mentor. Literally, they sent out literally flyers. I believe the program was, off the top of my head, it was Boys to Men or was it Passport to Manhood? One or two. Either way, you know, we all had a mentor. Like literally, we would all gather in the cafeteria and literally our mentors would hang out with us. And, you know, we sit and we like, you know, we share how's our experiences with our mentor going. And from there, it kind of, you know, it's always been that, you know, that good element for me as far as when other people here I have mentors, they always go, that's pretty cool. Like, what do y'all do together? I tell them, I'd be like, hey, he's pretty much my friend. Like we hang out, we go on fishing together. We, even my previous mentor, we go golfing. It's pretty go-karting. It's so many fun experiences we done had together. And when I tell people about that, they be like, I want that. Especially, you know, you growing up in Southeast DC, you know, we don't have much, there's not much to do but get in trouble. Everybody gonna be like, man, and you're not paying for any of this? Because that's a big thing. Get a free meal, all that for free. I'll be like, yeah, come on and get one too. So yeah.
Hey, we are so thankful for all of y'all. Can y'all clap that up for them one more time? We're thankful for the work, executive directors and program directors. Thank you. I know very often from my own personal experience, you'll go for days without getting any type of commendation or thank yous. We, the audience, we want to thank you for your contribution to our community. Yeah. And also those of you that are mentoring program directors and executive directors and working in your mentoring organizations, thank you for your work. Thank you for your work. And young people, this is all about, really, I know you got a whole lot of old folk talking, and but ultimately this is about you. And we thank you for coming, leaving school, and sharing and being so candid in your comments. And we love y'all and we want the best for each one of you. So can y'all clap it up for our young people? Well, this concludes our panel. Sadiq, can you come over and give us our next marching orders?
We gotta make some more noise for this panel though. Make some more noise for this panel. Really appreciate y'all. Y'all can join us in the back. We're gonna wrap this thing up. Please stick around, please stick around. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, we're good. That noise, and just FYI, they got some tremendous feedback. The chat box is blowing up back there. Y'all got so many yeses and finger snaps and all that in the chat box back for our virtual viewing experience. The other thing that we want to note too is don't leave yet. We do have some nice lunch for you all across the hallways via Busboys and Poets. So don't leave yet. We know we held y'all hostage. We see some of y'all sneaking out to the corner store. I ain't mad at you. I would have did the same. But shame on us for not saying that earlier, that we was going to feed y'all when this was all said and done. So just wanted to, before I pass it back to David for some really brief closing remarks as well, just some additional things to think about. Again, none of what we've laid out, none of what we heard just now from those young people is possible with just our tiny team. And by design, that's the vision. None of the improvements or any of the things that we've heard about is possible with any one individual person or organization in this group. It's going to take all of us doing a little bit, right? As they say, no one person can do everything, but everybody can do something. And we want this entire gathering, these reports and all of that to represent that, as well as this last slide, which again, you all will all get a copy of at the conclusion. So with that, I want to bring David back up to help us close this thing out. And that'll be that. Thank you, David.
Did you see how he said, I'm going to bring David up for some very brief remarks? It's really subtle, like David, be quiet. He said, I hope everyone in this room will take away, and I would just close with this. And I think, Sadiq, you mentioned it this morning, but I think you probably said it a lot more eloquently, but just the ripples, just thinking about your siblings, both you guys who have large families and lots of siblings that are looking at you and looking at your example, and the way that having a mentor has played a role in your lives, and the way that you're both trying to extend that to your siblings, to peers. And I just, and becoming staff members, like there were just so many things that you could say, even, your story. I mean, it was interesting hearing the program directors too, saying, I didn't have a mentor growing up, and that's what led me to this work. You talk about, guy changed my life coming across New York, and high schooler having not a lot in common with me racially, ethnically, but showing up in a way that now you're running BAM in DC. I mean, if you don't get the sense that this work is sort of a lot of little ripples that turn into a tidal wave, I just don't know what you're doing, because that's what the entire morning has been about. And it's hard to see that work. And it's hard to see that, especially when we're in our homes or wherever we are doing this work. So to be together, to be in covenant, to be in community, to learn about those ripples.
Boom, make sure you follow us. We're gonna follow y'all back. Shout out one more time. Can we make some noise for our moderator of that panel too? Mr. Dayon Johnson did his thing up there. He thought I forgot him. I ain't forget him. Did an amazing job right there. So with that, folks, we welcome you all. We also, again, bid you a great afternoon. Please stick around for lunch. We have lunch in the opposite room here, but most importantly, continue those conversations, keep networking, and we'll be in touch with you all soon. Thank you so much for coming.